Hello again, everyone. Today I'll be discussing IMAPS and DNS protocols. I will be covering an overview of both protocols and a few hardening recommendations for both. IMAPS and DNS are both very important protocols that allow for secure and efficient communication. I'll be talking about IMAPS and some of its uses with Dovecot on Linux and how to configure it as well. I will also be covering DNS configuration using IIS on Windows and Bind on Linux. With the number of cyber threats that are constantly growing and evolving, it is extremely important to ensure that these protocols are configured properly. Hopefully by the end of this presentation, you will have understood how to properly configure and enhance the security of your email and DNS services. Let's jump into it. IMAPS protocol. IMAP stands for Internet Message Access Protocol Secure. It is a protocol for accessing and retrieving emails from a server. It utilizes an SSL/TLS encrypted connection. IMAPS is an extension of the IMAP protocol, being that it is more secure and will operate over SSL/TLS. This provides a secure channel to retrieve and manage emails from a mail server. Unlike IMAP, IMAPS encrypts all emails during transmission. This prevents unauthorized access to any sensitive data. Email security is incredibly important in today's world. The amount of phishing emails and cyber threats that are continuously growing, and having something like IMAPS serves as that layer of protection. This is especially important for organizations that have to deal with sensitive information. DNS protocol, or domain name system, translates domain names into IP addresses. The DNS protocol can often be referred to as the phone book of the internet. What it does is translate what we see as the website URL to an IP address. This enables devices to communicate over the internet. It'd be very difficult to remember every IP address to every website we visit on a daily basis. Understanding this makes the impact of DNS extremely important in our everyday lives. DNS is a fundamental function of our internet. Why IMAPS and DNS? Understanding that securing IMAPS protects email communications and DNS ensures the integrity of internet traffic. Both of these protocols are incredibly important to ensuring proper security in a functional digital space. Dovecot is a widely used high-performing IMAP POP3 server. It is designed to handle email retrieval on Linux, and it offers strong features and is extremely light on resources, making this a great option for any organization, big or small. When you are first configuring IMAPS through Dovecot, you will run the command sudo apt install dovecot-core dovecot-imapd. Once this is installed, it is critically important to ensure that it is maintained and updated regularly to minimize the attack surface from any potential vulnerabilities from the older patches. Next, you will need to configure TLS encryption. You can set the certificate paths in /etc/dovecot/conf.d/10.ssl.conf. You should also use the SSL cert and SSL key parameters to ensure that the email transmissions are being encrypted. This is vital to ensure secure communication of IMAPS. Next, you'll want to generate the Diffie-Hellman parameters by using the command openSSL dh-param-out /etc/dovecot/dh.pem4096. This will add an extra layer of security, and this step enables the perfect forward secrecy, or PFS, which will prevent attackers from decrypting any intercepted traffic, even with the private key. You should then configure the mail directory and location. It's very important to configure these so that everything is stored securely in the proper files. Hardening IMAPS is incredibly important and should always be emphasized. This helps prevent unauthorized access, data breaches, and other threats that could potentially steal data. Email is often targeted from attackers through phishing attempts or anything like that. Using a strong TLS encryption helps protect against data interception and man-in-the-middle attacks. You can enable TLS by setting SSL equals required in the 10-SSL .conf file. Integrating PAM/LDAP authentication provides an extra layer of security for authentication. This is especially helpful in enterprise environments due to the sheer number of emails that can be transmitting. Using this approach ensures that only the proper access to IMAPS is given as well as strictly enforced. This helps lower the risk of unauthorized access. Implementing two-way replication, Dovecot has a replication feature that allows for high availability and redundancy. It basically means that if one server fails, you have another server. It can continue to handle any email traffic coming in. This helps ensure that downtime is kept at a minimum. Configuring DNS using IIS on Windows. Configuring DNS is very common in most Windows environments. Role-based installation and minimal services. This basically means to install only what you need. When setting up the IIS for DNS, make sure to turn on only the features that are necessary. The fewer things running in the background give the fewer chances that attackers will have the opportunity to find a way in. Basically means only install what you need. Do not install anything else after that. You can also turn on logging and monitoring, enabling the DNS logging and monitoring feature, which enables logging so that you have a record of everything happening on your DNS server, and this can help you catch any strange or unwanted activity. You can also secure zone transfers and DNS queries by restricting zone transfers. You only let trusted servers access your DNS data. This prevents outsiders from getting your information and using it for malicious purposes. DNS hardening recommendations on Windows. You can disable unnecessary IIS modules, turn off any parts of the IIS that you don't need for your DNS server, and this will help reduce the risk of attacks. You can also enable DNS SEC, which will help ensure that your DNS data hasn't been tampered with by adding a digital signature to it. This just adds an extra layer of authentication and authorization to ensure that the data has not been messed with in any way. You can also limit zone transfers and make sure only trusted servers can access your DNS data by setting up IP whitelisting. Configuring DNS using bind on Linux. You can install the bind package using the apt install bind 9 command. Once everything is installed, you will need to ensure that you regularly update and monitor the bind package to minimize any potential vulnerabilities. You can update using the apt update double and apt upgrade bind 9. Setting up named.conf configuration. The named.conf file is the main configuration file for bind. It serves as the brains of the DNS server. This file controls critical aspects that define DNS zones, access control lists, logging settings, and other major parameters that determine how your DNS server operates. Properly configuring the file is critical to the functionality and security of your DNS infrastructure. Enable DNS SEC and TSIG. Domain Name System Security Extension, or DNS SEC, is a security feature that helps protect the DNS data. It basically works by assigning digital signatures to your DNS records, and this prevents attackers from performing spoofing attacks that could potentially redirect you to another site. TSIG is transaction signature and is another feature that adds protection to zone transfers between DNS servers, and it basically uses a shared secret key to authenticate communication. This only allows authorized servers to participate in those zone transfers. Bind DNS hardening on Linux. You can run bind in a root shell, and it confines its operations to a specific directory, significantly reducing the potential impact of a breach by limiting access to any broader file systems. You can also limit access privileges by not allowing non-root users to use the -u named option, minimizing the risk of privilege escalation. This is an important security measure and it helps limit the potential damage in case bind is compromised. You should also monitor any and all DNS activities by enabling detailed logging for bind to track queries, zone transfers, and errors. Ensuring regular log reviews can help detect unusual activity or potential attacks. This will help administrators take preventative measures when needed. In conclusion, when using IMAPS, should always use encryption, SSL/TLS, and secure user authentication, PAM and LDAP, with regular monitoring to keep your email server secure. With DNS security, you should opt for both IIS and bind. You should limit who can have access to your server using logging and monitoring activity. Also enable DNS, SEC, and TSIG for added protection. Also and always, ongoing maintenance is one of the biggest parts of this. Regularly checking your configurations and updating software can help administrators and users stay informed about everything new that's coming out in the world. These are the references I used for this presentation. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed.